What's up, guys? Coyote Works here, heading out on another weekend adventure. Last couple of weekends, I've been doing some more civilized things. I went up to Northwest Overland last weekend, so I'm excited to get out in the woods for a couple of days. Got some exciting stuff coming up on this trip. I'm actually on the hunt of a site where an old cavalry detachment back in about 1860 was in a pretty good running battle with a group of the local Native Americans that they were trying to roust out around here. It was a fairly small battle, but significant, and in fact 6 cavalry guys died and 9 were wounded. And I've read diary accounts from 2 of the lieutenants and 1 of the soldiers that were actually in the battle. Outside of that, I'll show you guys some of the scenery, some of the gear that I used. Of course, we'll find an awesome place to camp tonight, have a good dinner, and just enjoy being out here like always. I just take a spare water bottle, cut a slit in the top, and then I can spray out a spray to clean off my windshield. I'm going to go ahead and air down my tires a little bit. They're sitting at about 37, 38 right now. I'm going to take them down to about 32 and see how that goes. And then if I don't like the ride at 32, I might even take them down a little below that. All right, tire pressure seems to be pretty good. That's much better. That smoothed out the road a little bit and keep from completely beating the hell out of my suspension. Well, I'm picking my way along out here and the roads are getting sketchier and sketchier, but I wanted to show you guys this. Out behind me back there is a big flat called Deadline Flat, and this is another spot that's on what the cattlemen called the deadline. And back in the days of the cattle and sheep wars, the cattlemen established the deadline, and the deadline was a line that the sheep weren't allowed to graze across. And if they did graze across that line, then they were subject to having, well, themselves or their sheep slaughtered or murdered. And more than one sheepman out here is buried or not buried, just left their bones to scatter across out here. Now, back behind me the other way, within a couple of miles should be the site, should be that battle site. All right, well, I've been hiking around in here looking for any sign I can find, and I'm just not finding anything. Plus, there's a little canyon, or actually a decent sized canyon, between me and where that battle site should be. So, I don't want to hike all the way down through that and up the other side. It's like almost 90 degrees out here, so I'm hoofing it back to the Jeep. It looks like on the map there's another little track that I can take a couple of miles and work my way around to the other side of that little draw. So this is interesting. So later, around 1919, there was kind of an old hermit that established a homestead up in this area in the general vicinity of the battle site. But check this out. The remains of some kind of an old shack. And it looks like an old oil sign that they hammered out and made a stove jack out of. There's a little short section of stovepipe there. I'll show you guys a closer look at that. And there's the stove jack over there, made out of an old sign. It's really interesting to me how much ingenuity the old homesteaders had out here. All right, so I'm following this draw, and I believe this is the draw that the wounded natives escaped up out of after that battle. So what I'm looking for is any kind of a sign that they were in here. All right, guys, well, the wind is blowing like a mother right now, so hopefully you can hear me. But I am standing in the draw that the wounded natives escaped from that battle, and I've got some proof here. Now, the main battle happened over that hill. I'll show you guys some footage of the site right here, but this is the direction that the wounded natives escaped from that. So there was kind of a running battle as they escaped this direction and came up this very draw that I'm in now. They were fighting as they were moving and as they were taking their wounded. And I'm going to show you guys something right now. This one piece of evidence, and I found a couple more in here too. But let me show you this. Now, can you guys see this? This is the tip of an obsidian knife laying right here on the ground. And then look at this. These little white flakes are what caught my eye, and they are chips. But check this out. This is a really crude chopper, and I know this because of the conchoidal fracturing on it, and then also because of the fact that there's no other rock like this around here. So this got carried here by a human. All right, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this or not, but this is a really old log that's been cut with an axe, and then there's these cut marks in it, which I don't have any idea what those would be. And then nearby I found this tin. It looks like it has some kind of a handle on it, and it looks like the lid to some type of a box. So could that be an old cavalryman's lunchbox lid? Maybe a tin that hardtack was in? I don't know. Well, guys, it's getting on into the evening. I've had some good exploring, but now I'm starting to look for a place to camp, and I'm bound and determined not to do my typical thing, which is just keep driving and driving until it gets dark. So it's 6:40 right now, which means I have about 2 hours until dark. I think it's getting dark around 9. So I'm looking for a spot to camp. These little tracks I'm going down are, at this point, I'm way beyond the place where anybody's been in years. I can barely even see the tracks in some spots. It's just a little bit of a different color of grass that I'm seeing, but nobody's driven on them in forever. All right, as promised, I rolled into my spot a little bit before dark. I've probably got a good hour or so. Sun's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I got a good hour worth of sun, but this is just a beautiful spot. I've got an amazing view here. It's going to be an awesome place to wake up. I've got a nice mahogany thicket around me. So I'm going to set up my tent real quick, and I'm freaking starving. So for anybody that's new to my channel, I'm running the Free Spirit Recreation M55 Adventure Series tent, and it's been just an awesome tent for me. So it's only going to take me about somewhere around 3-5 minutes to set it up. So I'm going to pop it up real quick, and then I'll start pulling my camp stuff out. My ready light out tonight because it's getting a little bit late, so I'm probably going to be up after dark cooking dinner and stuff. Outside of a table and chairs, this is probably one of the more handy pieces of kit that I've picked up in a while. This Ready Light's a combination overhead light and then also solar battery pack, so it charges all my phones, my camera batteries, anything with USB I can charge up by this, and then this recharges the battery bank inside it. Right, and the last thing is I'll set up my stove and my cookware, put together my Optimus Crux. All right, my kitchen's set up. And last but not least, I'll get out my Rubbermaid cooler. That Rubbermaid cooler's been a pretty good piece of kit for me, along with those Rubbermaid storage boxes. All right, there we go, camp set up. All told, about 12 minutes. All right, it is time for some dinner. So tonight I'm gonna have some turkey dinner casserole, Mountain House meal from my good friend Todd Stone down at Prepper Up in Prineville, Oregon. So really, all I've got to do is boil up some water. Always got to make sure I toss my lavatory up in my rooftop tent. That saves you a trip up and down the ladder in the middle of the night. All right, let's look in the Rubbermaid and see what kind of a tasty beverage we have. The ever-present Huckleberry Lemonade. But you know what? I think I'm going to have some coconut juice. That smells good. All right. About 10 minutes I'll have some dinner. I think while my dinner's rehydrating, I'm just going to take a little walk around here. Just see what it looks like over the edge there. See what kind of tracks are around here. I always like to go for a little walk in the evening. This is a perfect time of day out here in the desert. This is when the animals start moving and everything, so we'll see if we can kick anything up. Impossible to move quiet in here. I gotta get out of this pine duff. If you look at these mountain mahogany trees, you'll see that all the leaves are off the lower portion of the trees. This is really high protein feed for the deer and the elk. The deer especially love to browse these, but the elk as well. Walking along, hugging this tree line. I've got a big open plateau that I'm kind of watching, but if I do see something, I want to be able to quickly step into the trees and let the shadows break up my outline. There's a lot of rattlesnakes out in this country, and the temperature is just about perfect for them right now. It feels like it's maybe right around 70 degrees, just a little over 70, so I gotta kind of watch where I step and not get in too much of a hurry. Well, in typical Coyote Works fashion, I got distracted and have been gone a little longer than I intended. So hopefully my Mountain House meal is still warm when I get back to camp. All right, dinner time. Oh yeah, it's still a little warm, perfect. All right. So we'll do the Coyote Works Mountain House meal modification. Makes it short spoon appropriate. All right, let's see how this is. Tastes like turkey and stuffing. gonna work. So my belly's full. I had a good dinner, and I'm just enjoying a little bit of grizzly. Probably go to bed pretty soon, but I was just sitting here thinking about that battle that happened down there, and the 2 lieutenants and the band of Native Americans that ended up, the majority of them, being slaughtered. But I thought I'd tell you guys a story of what happened. So a scouting party, the cavalry had a scouting party out, and they stumbled across this encampment of the natives in there. So they sent word back to the main camp, which was about 8 miles away or so. When the scouts got back to the cavalry encampment, they discovered that the majority of the rest of the crew was actually out on another patrol. So the runners rode their horses back up there and got up there, and the lieutenant that was up there waiting in fairly close proximity to where the native encampment was didn't want to wait for the reinforcements to come. So he decided to go ahead and initiate the attack. He was confident that they were going to be able to catch him by surprise and figured that it would be over really quickly. Well, what happened is at the sound of the first couple of rifle shots, the natives scattered back up the draw and into kind of a honeycomb complex of rim rocks and boulders and things. And they actually hold in a pretty defensive position, and this is now turning into a prolonged firefight. So they're holding back, they're not charging the position, waiting for reinforcements to come. But the reinforcements, while they were on their way there, they had to cross a big marshy area, and they got a bunch of their horses bogged down in the mud, so they got delayed. Well, they got word up to the lieutenant that was attacking the natives that they were going to be delayed. Well, he didn't want to wait any longer, so he decided to go ahead and charge the defensive position that the natives were occupying. And that was kind of the fatal mistake that he made. So he charged the position, and he had superior numbers, but not superior enough given the fact of how socked in and how defensible the position was that the natives were in. So on that initial charge, the lieutenant was killed along with 5 of his men, and then 9 of them were wounded. So they pulled back, and eventually the reinforcements got there. Well, by the time the reinforcements got there, they now outnumbered the Indians like 9-1 or something like that. They were grossly outnumbered. So they charged the stronghold, rousted out the natives, incurred a few more casualties, or at least injuries, no more casualties, no more fatalities, a few more injuries, and basically massacred all of the natives with the exception of about 6 or so. A small group, it depends on what account of the story you read, but a small group of them, let's say 5 or 6 of them, managed to escape, and they slipped out a draw, and they had a couple of wounded with them. And it's rumored that one of the escapees was Chief Paulina, who was one of the last Native Americans that still roamed free and still waged war against the cavalry and fought the settlers that were taking over the land. Pretty interesting story. The natives that were camped there apparently had no idea there was cavalry in the area, and it was mostly women and children in the camp, but there were a few warriors there. So it ended up being a pretty heavy loss for the cavalry detachment, but an even heavier loss for the natives. So I was just thinking about that and just running through my mind what that might have looked like that night. And then I was also thinking about how amazing it was to be standing across the draw from that and looking over that exact ground where that all happened. I think my work's about done here. I'm just gonna button up my camp a little bit. I don't actually have much to even button up, but I'll put my food away. There are a few bears in this country. Make sure my Rubbermaid cooler's closed up tight. Let's go ahead and clean up a little bit. Alright guys, I think I'm gonna head up into the home away from home, the M55 Adventure Series rooftop tent. So I really appreciate all you guys coming along with me for the adventure today. I'm going to read for a little bit and then crash out, and then we'll see what kind of adventures are in store for us tomorrow. Coyote Works, out. Good morning, guys. Whew, I slept like a baby last night. Really good. I'm just having my Starbucks via cold this morning. It's amazing view out here. I'm just gonna sit here, perched up on the edge of my rooftop tent, finish my coffee. Then I'll head down and probably make some hot breakfast. Alright, time to get serious here. So I got something new to try for breakfast this morning. Thunder Bunny, who you guys met, Jackalope and Thunder Bunny, in one of my previous videos, I think my High Mountain Stuffed Peppers video. But Thunder Bunny made up these packets. She bought all the ingredients separately and then vacuum sealed these little breakfast packets. So I think they have a little bit of granola, powdered milk, freeze-dried blueberries in them. So we're gonna see how Thunder Bunny's breakfast is this morning. So I just thought I'd show you guys these real quick. These are the action tracks, real similar to Max Track, same concept, just a recovery track that's compact and easy to carry along with you. But I ran into these at Northwest Overland, and what I really liked about them was these ones are made in the USA and they're made out of USA source materials. I'll show you a little video of the couple that I met that turned me on to them right here.
Hi, I'm Candy with Adventure Driven, and a product we have is called US Action Tracks. So you can get these at adventuredriven.com.
All right, let's see how Thunder Bunny's breakfast goes here. Reconstituted nice. Well, it's about 9 a.m. and the sun's getting pretty hot right here in the spot where I'm at. Luckily, there's still a little bit of a breeze, so that's making it tolerable, but it's pushing 80 degrees right now, and my guess it's going to get up into the 90s today. So I'm going to finish buttoning up my camp and then do a little bit of more exploring around in this area. All right, so I'm pretty much packed up. I just got to throw my chair in, and that took me about 10 minutes, so we're about ready to hit the road. So another nice thing about camping kind of self-sufficient out of your vehicle like this is I'm literally leaving zero trace that I was ever here. You'll see a few tire tracks, but an afternoon thunder shower and those will wash away and be gone, and by next spring there will be no sign that I was ever here. All right, let's check our map here. So today I've got a couple of guys that I'm gonna meet, and I'm meeting them right here where that 200 road turns off. It's about 6 miles as the crow flies. So if I'm averaging between 5 and 10 miles an hour, that could take me 45 minutes or an hour. So I'm just gonna start moving up there. So Scott actually came down a month or two ago, and I showed him a spot, actually took him out to a spot where he camped for a couple of days. And this time they wanted to go a little bit deeper, so I've got them meeting me out here really in the middle of nowhere. So hopefully they'll make the spot, the meetup spot, and if they do, I'm going to take them down into one of my prime pristine camping spots. All right, this is where I'm supposed to meet Scott and Randy, at the intersection of these two roads. So I'm here, it's noon. Actually, I made it right at noon on the button. So those guys are supposed to be here at noon, but they could be a little bit behind. So I think I'm just gonna chill out here, have something cool and refreshing to drink while I wait for them. All right, Scott and Randy made it safe. So I'm taking them the last little mile down into the canyon to this just fantastic, supreme little campsite. Well, I'm back on pavement. I had a nice visit with Randy and Scott. So now that I'm back on pavement, I'm gonna find myself a spot just down here a little bit. I'll air my tires back up to pressure, and then I've got about an hour and a half drive back home. All right, I'm gonna air back up my tires real quick. Right up behind me is the old Four Horsemen Hotel. So that hotel was for a big mining operation that was around here. And at one point there were over 100 workers staged up around here working in the mine. So I just thought I'd show you guys this real quick while I'm airing back up for highway pressure. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this trip. It all went pretty smoothly, no major hassles. As always, I appreciate your support, subscribing to my channel, your comments, all of that stuff. So for now, I'm going to hit the highway and make tracks back for town, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Coyote Works out.